Hey everybody, and welcome to my in5 series where I cover a topic in about 5 minutes. Bugout writes in and says, I have a dry sample of, say, a guitar lick or some kind of relatively short melodic sequence of like 2 or 4 bars, and my usual approach is to slam some effects in there based on what I might be thinking. But once I get those in there and tweak to taste, I'm not sure how to keep building. And I'm going to start by saying think this is a problem I see a lot of people do. I used to do this a lot myself, and maybe sometimes still do, but and that is we need to switch over here. Building a tower of effects. And this is all well and good for, getting to one sound, but it makes it very hard to, if you're thinking about just how do I keep building and adding forever, because at some point this thing's going to topple over and it's not going to help drive you anywhere. What I would actually consider doing, and is thinking about, especially like, I mean, you kind of said guitar, and if you think about like how a guitarist works, they've got a pedal board and they've got all kinds of pedals here. It honestly would, if you were to unwind everything, look a lot like this tower because everything just kind of runs from one thing to the next thing. But if you like start thinking about it this way, it's really less about um, any one particular sound, and it's about being able to turn on and off specific sounds, or maybe make like some very quick, subtle changes for one effect to have a very different and varied sound. So when you see a guitarist play, they're always stepping their foot on the pedal board to turn an effect on, turn it off, adjust parts of the chain, and really ultimately get a they're using the multiplicative effect of like one effect going to the next one, going to the next one is always kind of changing the sound. So um, instead of thinking about building it as a tower, where you're trying to like figure out where you add something next, I would actually say like once you kind of get to a sound, maybe you should instead be thinking about like what do I remove or what can I change in a sense so that you can kind of keep variations going on and on. In my mind, it's usually this is where I would say like there's a set of effects that you are using to get a specific consistent tone out of a sound and have a certain level of quality out of it where you're shaping it with EQ, compression, limiters, and all that stuff. And then the rest of it's really about trying to get that tone that can change over time. So it shouldn't be, I've got a cassette effect and I have to now, I've got it where I love it. I have to use that cassette effect forever. It should be a, where is the appropriate time to use the cassette effect? Where's the appropriate time to then, turn that off and switch over to a tremolo? Where's the appropriate time to have the cassette then running into a phaser or things like that? And if you start thinking that way, um, you can think about like the having the multiple combinations in place where you're then able to, decide what's on, what's off, and have that consistency of sound from phrase or 4 bars or 8 bars or whatever over time that people that when they come in here they're like, oh, like that's still the same, that's like the same rhythmic sound from the phaser. And then when you have like add in the cassette effect, they're like, oh, well, that's the cassette effect and the phaser. Like they're not consciously thinking this way, but it gives them the familiar sound that they've come to love by listening to your track, but also allow you to change it up so that you can be like, oh, now it's time to drop in a filter sweep, or maybe you add in like a subtle delay on like the fourth bar to help like insinuate that there's a transition coming, or things of that nature. So I would caution about thinking about coming in and building up this giant tower where you're going up, and more thinking about it as like they're distinct little hops. Like is like every hop here is like a yes or no. Am I doing it at this time or not? And how does that add? And how many different combinations can you get? Because you can have like you'll see like pedal boards. They'll have like 2 phasers and 2 EQs and like 3 distortions and all kinds of stuff. And it's all about just trying to get that right shaping of the sound for the moment when you have the right combination of effects in place. So I say build your tower and then think about what parts that you can think about it like Jenga. What are you thinking that you can take out and create a new by taking stuff out, create multiple combinations? Because maybe you don't need that entire tower and you're really thinking about the parts that you need and then which are the parts that you can kind of pull out and put back in. Anyway, thank you for the question, Bug Out. Everybody else, thanks for stopping by. Keep making music, keep having fun. Remember, if it sounds good, it is good. And peace.